Hi, I'm Krzysztof Marzec, and this is SEO in 2025.
Christopher, what's your number one SEO tip for 2025?
For me, it's still looking at the data from other perspective. So look at the Google Ads and Google Analytics data to improve your SEO. There is a lot of stuff that Google is not telling us about how SEO algorithm works, but we know a lot how the auction, how the value of your ad and how your keywords perform. And you have all these data in Google Ads. You have all these data also to check in Google Analytics for. So there is a lot to take from there to make a better SEO campaigns.
Right, okay, so I love how you focus on data, because some people say it's important for SEO and paid search to work more closely together, but there has to be a reason to do that, and data is certainly one of them, because the data that's accessible inside AdWords, or Google Ads rather now, is unique and different compared with what SEOs have at the moment, but it can be a minefield. It can be difficult to know where to look to begin with. So if an SEO does have access to that platform, where should they start?
First of all, you can go big, like with the strategy. Google Ads will show you exact data for keywords, how they are performing. So they will tell you what's the conversion rate, what's the value of conversions for exact keywords. And because you have the same landing page probably for your SEO campaign, you just vary at an ad copy, because here we use title and description probably, and here we use ad copy. So you can estimate very similar results because this is the same search engine results page. There's just different place. Ad is higher and SEO results are lower. And you can check if your big machine of SEO aiming for the keywords is aiming good, because if there is no sales from Google Ads from the same keywords, you will lose your money aiming at SEO. But probably after months of work, hard work, and spending money on links and content, then you will find like, oh, there is no sales. So you can do something in reverse. You can choose the best keywords from Google Ads campaign. Sometimes they are very expensive. And then you have two very important piece of data. First of all, you can say like, well, they are expensive in Google Ads, so we have budgets for SEO department. And then they are converting. So if we get them in organic traffic, we will get some revenue from this. Second approach is to take some pieces of data that are shown by something called quality score. In Google Ads, you can check if your campaign is performing well based on this quality score. It's a diagnostic tool. So for example, you think like, should I get more links? Should I improve my landing page? There is not enough content, or maybe I should stuff more keywords in this content, right? But in Google Ads, you can check that for this keyword and this ad and this landing page, there is an issue. And you can check this part, for example, for a landing page. So my approach is checking these pieces of quality score. And then I search like, why Google is saying that for this keyword, my landing page is bad. Then I can do some analysis. I can check what's wrong with my landing page, or how my competitors are making landing pages better. Because also in Google Ads, you can see your competitors, you can see their ads, and you can see if they are winning with you. Of course, they can win with you with the money, with how much they bid, but you can also see that they are more driving more traffic and they are better. So I will choose to analyze those campaigns and those landing pages. And then you find that, for example, you missed some intent to cover, you missed some keywords to cover, some answers. You can expand your FAQ section, and like a lot of things you can find, but the signal is coming from Google Ads and it's saying like, whoa, you have low quality score for this landing page for this exact keyword. And you will learn that it's not like this landing page is bad. It's not about UX sometimes. It's about connection with a keyword, because we in SEO is like, let's make it a pillar page and let's put some more content and more keywords there. And then they are not working. Why? Some are working well, some are not. And in Google Ads, you can check this. Also, when we are talking about this, we say a lot of about AI lately. So one of the mechanisms that is like based on understanding our language, and when we call it generative AI, we can call it AI mechanism, is how Google can take your keyword and show your ads to every keyword that matches. It's a broad match or phrase match or exact match in Google Ads, but it's to expand your reach and get you more conversions, right? So if you learn from this data, you will see similar keywords around your main keyword, and you can decide in Google Ads if you want to keep them or no. But in SEO, this is a mine of ideas. So you can say, first of all, wow, so this is the Google context. Like this is how Google understands my keywords and similar keywords and connected keywords by this graph, by these clusters. That's first thing that SEO can work. And second of all, like, okay, if it's a similar keyword and Google thinks it's good for ads, maybe I should expand my content here, or maybe I should make another landing page for this cluster. I don't know, but the ideas are there.
You mentioned the words landing page 8 times there in your answer. So that's an important part of it. So if paid search team have produced a landing page that is currently indexed and potentially starting to rank organically, should SEO teams be having a conversation with the paid search team to actually use that page and augment it? Or realistically, is it not really possible to do that much with that landing page, and should SEOs be focusing on a different page for organic terms?
This is actually a very interesting topic, because when you look at the landing page and you think like it should sell only, the page will be very different from what we see on a normal website, like what SEO are working with. So sometimes paid campaigns have very small landing pages, only one form. There's some data for a client, like just sign up, leave your data and sign up. And this is not so good approach for what I've seen from many campaigns, because you are putting your client, your user, on something that is separated and not connected well with whole website. So she or he goes to this landing page and decide not to give your data, not to sign up for your trial, and wants to explore your page. And then this person is interacting with everything you put for Google to index. When you think about this in a big picture, the best strategy is to have a landing page which is super good for SEO, super good for Google Ads team. And when you check how it will connect, like on what level we have the same approach, the good usability will be good approach, very fast loading time. So Core Web Vitals, for example, but not fighting for points, but fighting for real loading time. And I call it like answering the user intent, because when I put, for example, a keyword about insurance, I want to know how much will I pay, or what it will cover, or if I will have some extra costs or issues. For example, I have to cover part of this insurance, and I have everything in my mind. So the landing page should answer all these questions somehow, or lead me further down the rabbit hole sometimes, website, to answer my questions. I should not go back to Google. And both Google Ads team and SEO team should aim for this. So there are a lot of things that we have a common. For me, the best strategy is to these two teams or two specialists, freelancers, to operate together and think about, for example, SEO sometimes will do these big descriptions to just stuff more keywords, right? They are bad for a user experience sometimes. So you have to think how to do it to not destroy user experience for people that won't interact with these descriptions. So I think it's super connected, and the best strategy is to use the same landing page, which is a part of very, very well designed website. I mean, design in terms of navigation, menus, hyperlinks between offers and products and stuff like this.
You also mentioned loading time there as well. And I'll tell you what jumped to my mind when you were talking about that. But I think you said the phrase real loading time. And to me, what really matters is how your website is performing against your competitors, because there's no point in having an arbitrary comparison with some server on the other side of the world that your users don't use, or some maybe irrelevant comparison with a website with no images if you've got loads of images on your website. So I would like to see some SEO software give me a comparison with how my site is loading versus my industry competitors. Is that a reasonable request to make? And is there software exists that actually has that?
Yeah, you can do it manually because because we have tools that will check your page speed, loading time. But what we always refer to is Core Web Vitals. So we check on the page speed insights from Google and the Lighthouse built in Google Chrome. So you can just run the tests. And when you are approaching SEO, comparing yourself to your competitors, you can probably use some tools like Contado. And for those tools, searching for insert for content, they will scan your competitors. So they will analyze like top 10, top 30 websites for this keyword. And then they will give you content ideas. So based on the same system, you should check your competitors for your most important keywords and run the same tools as you're running for your website for their landing pages. And then you will see like, wow, we are winning here. But you should not think like, okay, I'm here, everything's fine. You should look at this for a user. Because, for example, in automotive industry, a lot of car dealers had pages in Poland that are pre-made by the importer, by the central company. So all of them were a little slow. So they said like, everyone is slow, we don't improve here. But no, those dealers who made the new pages based on WordPress and optimized it for speed, they got better pages, better content. They won this battle in organic. So you have to be always vigilant and think like how it's for user. And sometimes it's very easy stuff to fix, like unoptimized images. And someone will say like, this is not improving your SEO. This is not for SEO. But yes, but it will improve results of your SEO because you will keep more users staying on your website can convert more. And this is the budget you need for extra work in SEO, link building and stuff and content marketing, because from the same traffic, you get more conversions. The changes are very small if you look only at numbers, like the points from Core Web Vitals tools. But if you really focus on what's changing the experience with the website, you will get better results. And to give one example, we saw that site was super good prepared, but they were losing traffic because users were using internal search, like search box on this website inside. It was e-commerce, and it worked super slow. It was bad with results. We saw data in Google Analytics 4 that people are searching and then leaving website, going back probably to Google or other search engine. And we said like, why don't you fix it? And they said, no one is using this because we checked, no one is buying after using search engine. And I said, yes, because it's bad. So we show how many people try and attempt to use it. We improved it. And it also figured that improved results from local search engine were very good to make very custom specialized landing pages for other campaigns. For example, paid media, but also in some cases you can do it in SEO, but you have to be very careful with what you are indexing in Google. But yeah, this is the approach. You have user in your mind as a focus, and it will improve your SEO. It will also improve the results from Google Ads campaigns.
So that's data inside Google Ads. What reports in GA4 should influence SEO campaigns the most?
Yeah, I love to put a dimension that will show your landing page. And then I check only traffic from Google Organic. And then I see how people behave when they land on this page. And for example, one test that I do is searching for these pages that have very high bounce rate or a very low interaction. So if you find those pages, you should ask for answer. This is only something that will point you in the right direction because you have to ask like why people left this. They can leave your product because it's too expensive and your price is not good. But if you have, for example, average of 50% bounce rate and you find a lot of landing pages like your blog posts or some big piece of content that you paid for, and they have bounce rate 80%, 90%, something is wrong. Sometimes it's bad keywords. You don't have, you cannot decide what keywords you will rank on because Google will put you there. But sometimes it's just, whoa, we forget to put some improvements. And we saw that all these improvements, that putting some short indexes, like what is in this big piece of content, putting videos higher on the page, making it more interactive, not like big chunks of text only, will keep people more on this website, and probably they will go further, convert maybe later. So this is the first test. Of course, you can check something that is much more important, not just bounce rate, but conversion rate or value from transactions if you're e-commerce. But the second report is super cool. I call it checking the dust zone. I try to export connect data. It's cool to do in many crawlers. You can do it in, for example, Sitebulb. You connect data from a Search Console, Google Analytics 4, and the crawl of your website. And you can see two things. First, you will find orphan pages that are not reported by crawler because crawler is not checking orphan pages. But if you give it data from Analytics and Google Search Console, it will find it. But the second one is very important. The pages that don't have any SEO traffic. That's why I call it dust zone, because they are dusted. No one is visiting them from Google, organic. They can be in some campaigns, okay. And then you have to ask the question, what happened? What went wrong? Because sometimes the answers are easy, they are not indexed, or answers are like, we are not ranking because we need more link popularity, or content is bad, or something went horribly wrong. There is some error, like no index parameter, or we forgot about H1s and titles at all, or some canonicals made very, very badly. So, of course, if you are paying attention to your technical SEO, the answers will be much harder because they will be not so easy, like we forgot about indexing, but you will think like, wow, I had 10,000 products on my web page, and this report shows me that I got traffic only on 1,000. And 80% of this traffic is going only from these 20, for example. And then you have to check what's going on there. And you have to really aim for this long tail approach, not just this image of a long tail. Because if you check those reports, you will see if you have an issue or you really got the long tail. You have like thousands of products ranking and getting your traffic. This is what you aim for.
If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time focusing on obtaining and analysing data from less usual sources in 2025?
They should stop using Microsoft Excel and Google spreadsheets to make reports. We have great tools for this. Google Analytics 4 can be overwhelming, but you can make your reports there and keep them. Like you invest your time one time, and then you get great reports. But if you want to have a good conversation about data with your client and relation and based on the data, you should think about Google Looker Studio. And Looker Studio can allow you to make reports based on many data sources. So for example, we put data from Google Search Console, from Analytics. You can see conversion rate and conversion costs from Google Ads and SEO. You can try to estimate what kind of percentage is your brand traffic and put everything in one very, very nice to read report. It's interactive. You don't have to send it every month even. You save this time also, because I see a lot of people struggling to make like every month a report, every month something. Better is to call clients like, you read the report? Okay, so let's talk. What can we do in this month? Focus on strategy, focus on operations, and talk how can we get another niche or some traffic idea, not talking about data and reading sad reports. That's something you need to cut off and go for tools that will automate it.
Krzysztof Marzec is CEO of Deva Group, and you can find him over at devagroup.pl. Krzysztof, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2025.
Thank you so much.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2025, the book, over at SEOin2025.com.